Incremental readings. This is the 24th section of the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo, the Fluency cycle, and it's dedicated to the subset review and the subset batch operations. So we'll introduce what are subsets. This has been already mentioned many times in the course. And then some stuff of the browser window that we didn't cover just yet. The columns, the sorting criteria, the history, and then some dynamic subsets in SuperMemo that are generated automatically. There are many, there are more than 20, I think. We only cover the most useful stuff. The recently closed browser, Then we'll see some batch operations, like add to outstanding, its use cases, the requirements, and a practical example of the requirements, because especially the fourth one, is not that easy to understand that requirement. And then we'll continue with the subset review. The difference between a subset review and just sorting the contents, the use cases. Then the difference between learn and review all. That's because how it's designed in SuperMemo, when you create a subset through the element browser, through the browser window, if you use the common sense, you will do this. Because the icon is reused, but the feature is not the same. Same icon, but the learn becomes review all. Unless you don't hover, you won't notice that. Anyhow, there are some use cases for review all. And then we'll see the difference between add all to outstanding and review all. Again, this is at the end, is because it's already now some details here and there, but that makes a difference in the long term. That's why it's here in the Fluency, because perhaps you're not aware that you are logging repetitions ahead of time. It's not outstanding, but you do a repetition midterm. And most people don't know that. That's why it's here, even though perhaps it's not that relevant, it's here because the relevancy comes from the changes you're doing and you're unaware until much later, or perhaps never. That's why, oh wow, and you could prevent this. That's why it's here. And it doesn't add many times in the watch time. So at the end of this video, you will be able to know what is a subset, then the basic operations, and some of other operations will be mentioned in the videos that will be left of mastery. And I'm not even going to say it now because this is done across videos. So no need to emphasize that. Just letting you know that there's a ton more to cover. But again, diminishing returns or very specific use cases. So let's start with the section. Let's start with subset reviews, and subset batch operations. First, let's define what is a subset. Even though at this stage, very late stage, we are close to the end of the course. We already mentioned subset many times, but let's define it. A subset is a collection of elements. Done. Another definition is that instead of your collection, all, anything that is not all will be a subset. Only topics is a subset of the entire collection. Only the memorized will be a subset. Only the dismissed, this is by state, by type, by what was loaded in the browser, what was searched, or by the queue. A static queue, neural, priority, and so on. So whatever it is, like if now I go to dismissed, even though it's 31,000 elements, this is a subset. And this in the element browser is usually when we are going to work with subsets, usually, but not always. We can do the same by right clicking, process branch. And now I'm going to the same menu I have process branch in the browser, but from the contents window, not the browser window. And this is a subset. Why? Because it's a branch. Then it won't be, the only exception is here, in the root element. Because now if I process the branch, since it's the root, is the same as the collection. So if I open the contents, 140,715 is the same, I cancelled, is the same if I go to view and all. The question is this a subset? Now we're stretching the boundaries. Because, at least, and this is my interpretation, it's like when it's 1 squared or 0 squared, right? Is 0 squared 1 or 0? It's more or less your choice. Same here. Since it's in the browser window, I will still call it a subset that in this case equals to the entire collection. But it will be treated as a subset because the features I have here are meant for subsets, basically, even if it's entire collection. Because some features, like mercy, is collection-wise. That's why I don't need to go to the browser and filter anything. That's why, for me, a subset is a collection of elements, including all of the elements, in this case. Now you know what is a subset in SuperMemo, and remember that can be in any place in the collection or even in a saved file. Now what we're going to see is some part of the element window that we covered at the beginning of the course. There are some details that now become relevant. Do you see there are some columns? These can be customized. So, for instance, I want, let's say, the forgetting index. The absolute factor just next to the forgetting index. Here you go. Whatever you do, number of repetitions before the last rep, and so on. So whatever rearrangement you do, what's good is that it's permanent. So now if I close it and I open a different browser, do you see forget index and absolute factor? So the precise order depends on you. For instance, the U factor is not that important, or the element number are the least useful for me. So more or less we could simplify. The more important and relevant, the more to the left it would be. You can rearrange, and this is a start. This goes into the supermemo.ini file. That means it's per collection. In case you have multiple collections, you could customize this in every collection, in case you don't want to use the same. And then, some of the perks is not just visually here. It's not just visually how it appears, is that you can also sort. If you click the header, in this case title, I sort by the title alphabetically. If you click once again, you reverse the order. Nice. Same for amount of repetitions, let's say, from most to least, or the up or last repetition. That will be by date, and so on. So, another useful case, if you only have, let's say, this width, the element window is like this. I'm going to sort by those headers that I see. So after last repetition, I will need to make this bigger. It adds multiple steps. Another thing you can do, if this ever happens, is go to the menu, context menu of the browser, and sort. And you have the same thing and even more. We are not going to see the precise use cases of every single option. We will do in the mastery track, not here. Just to let you know that you will have the same. For instance, what we did is by title, by interval or last repetition, and so on. So all the headers are also here, and you still have more that are not available. For instance, text size, picture size by 3. The order that appears by default when you open the browser, you can set it again if you modify it. Probably random or other metrics. Especially those two. So imagine you have a plethora of orders you can do. That will be very important because usually if you do subsets, especially if it's on a step before a subset review, that we will get there, is hey, I don't just not want a subset, the contents are filtered, I also want a specific order to see those. Equally important. Now you know how to sort. Now let's continue with the browser window. And hey, I just opened the contents of the 2024 branch, which I'm getting some folders, items, topics, and so on. This order that you see by default, it's a tree order. If now I go to the element tree, that's what I got. The first folder, the subfolder, the integrated items, the strong, In this case, what happens is that the hierarchy has been flattened because I did this in a different video. So now we'll do the same with 2022. First folder, subfolder 1.1, fixed dollar sessions, searching for cause, low points, summary, Okay. So I open this on the browser, and it's what I get. I get the sibling. There's no sibling. Child. Sibling of the child. There's no more. Descendant, and so on. So you get the tree order by default. So this is already sorted. In case you didn't know, it's not arbitrary. Nice. And then what is called the sorting criteria is this. Menu and sort. For review, Ctrl+S, what is this? Oh, this is only items, right? This, if you remember from the learning flow section of the course, this is a sorting criteria. A quick reminder, sorting criteria. It's using this. See, if I now put some proportion of topics, and now I do it again, sort for review, do you see now I have topics? Here we go. The only difference is that this is non-deterministic. Every time I trigger it, I will have a slight different result. Do you see? Do you see that some not many, more of the items, but there's some change in the order. Nice. So this is the sorting criteria that you have on the browser window. And that will be inherited as soon as we start a subset review. Click on Learn or Review All. We will see the difference between that. But any of those will trigger a subset review. Awesome. So then that will be the what? The sorting criteria of the subset, which could be interrupted or modified during that subset, but the initial one will be inherited from the browser. What you see here is what you will get. Easy. So that I want to survey interval, I do this, and now I do trigger the learning process, the subset review. So remember, sorting criteria, Ctrl+S, and you also have randomize and some other that we are not going to see in the Fluency track. But this is a required step most of the time, because you don't want to do the default, because you will do by tree. See when you are defeating the incrementalism here. Now we're going to see a subset that is really convenient. And is if you go to View, Other, and History. This is acting like your browser. Chrome, Edge, Opera, whatever browser you use. Hey, what are the latest websites that I visited? It's the same thing. That means those are the latest 1000 elements that were loaded on the element window. Imagine I do all left, so I go to the previous element. That is the list of what I will be getting if I do it 1000 times. And I will prove it to you. All left, what is this? 2022. Do you see? Now it becomes the first one, because it's updating. Kaufman. The next one will be Bharat Sirasaman. Here you go. The next will be an item of Tim Ferriss. Here you go. Grew and Blin. Direction of fit. Here you go. Do you see? But now this is no longer true, because since I have revisited them, now I inverse the order of those 6. So if I go once again, View, Other, and History, I have, do you see, modified the order, inverse the order, because I have revisited them. This is awesome. The use case basically is, oh, I misclicked something, or I started the subset and I lost where I was. You can be here. Because it's not, oh, it's all left. Yeah, but it's been 5 minutes. I don't want to do it 20 times. Hey, let me go here. Oh yeah, I deleted this, therefore this is 1. Boom. And you locate it. Or you did a lot of stuff and a lot of not random, arbitrary, that it will be hard to reproduce. Let's say that you lose the collection. Let's say that you mess up with the collection and you have to recover from a backup. How likely it is that I do a random subset that it will be the same order, I will do a search going that, something that is quite hard to reproduce. No worries. Just go to the history, what you did, and now you do a subset, and you start a subset. If you want to do it again, let's say it's short term, it's, hey, let me mask this today, but I want to do more than 1 repetition per day on the same elements, especially topics. It's something you can do. But before, you will need to add the outstanding, which we will see later. This is so convenient. And again, you can filter this. Hey, I only want the topics and only the memorized. So those are the memorized topics that I have seen loaded on the element window. Not necessarily I did the repetition. Usually you will, but strictly speaking, not necessarily. And then I do by interval. And now I do the subset. Or is no. Let me actually sort once again. I want to keep the same order. Okay. I will first filter. I don't need the latest 1000. It will be the 200. So select browser range, the first 200. Now I do the subset. Nice. Is a subset browser. Now I filter the topics memorized. 122. And now I sort by interval. And now I go. I now do learn. You can see here how many possibilities you have here. You could now, if you wanted, filter by concept, by template, by a branch. So I want to take out if there's language or whatever. So you can customize this, fine-tune it as much as you want, and you can repeat it as many times as you want. The user has a lot of freedom. We're not going to cover the possible flows there are, because there are quite a lot, and it will be super time consuming. The ones we will see the most common ones, the 3 archetypes, let's say, and that's about it. So we just have seen this convenient subset of history. But we have something. So now what I can have is what I did before. So if I go view, last browser, is the contents I had before. So here was the history filtered by the first 200 positions, filtered again, only topics, filtered again, only memorized. Nice, here you go. That's what I did. So now, for the sake of the example, I will filter by priority. So the priority is up to 50. Now let me decrease it. Up to 20. Okay. Do you see now it's 59? Okay. I close it. Oh shoot, I have closed when I didn't want to close it. It was a mistake. No worries. you can recover it. View, last browser. Those 59 elements. The only thing you lose, that I don't know why it's not memorized, is the sorting. By default, you will have the default sorting. So if you sort it, let's say, by priority, do you see now it's sorted by priority? We close it down. Oh shoot, once again, no worries. View, last browser. But it's not sorted by priority. So the only thing you lose is the sorting, but again, it's easy to do. We have seen that already. But remember, the sorting for review and random are non-deterministic, meaning you can trigger this again, but it won't be precisely the one you had before. The only way to achieve the same result, dead on the same, is if you save it as a file. And then you load that file. It will be the only way to bypass the non-determinism. It will be the only way to bypass, to overcome the non-deterministic nature. And that's not all. We also have the second last browser. That's that last. But if we go to recent, we have previous. In this case, what happened is that I opened this multiple times. So the last, second last, and even the third last is the same. So now, so it's easier to follow, I will do subsets. Now it's 20. And now it will be 10. Easy, right? Okay. Then, if I go to view and last browser, I will be getting 10. I'm not going to do it. And if I go to recent and previous, I'm going to have 20. Awesome. Because sometimes you don't want that last. You want the second last. You can also have it. But remember, if you reopen the last one will also be the second last one. It's obvious, but something to consider. This is awesome if you close it by mistake, or now you realize something, oh shoot, and then you want to perform an action that you didn't want before because you have had that thought and so on. You can recover that. If it was something you can remember, yeah, it was this, then I filtered, you can reproduce it. Then by priority, you will get to the same place, right? But if it was something complex that you don't remember, something non-deterministic especially, or from a search, or a combination of whatever, last browser, oh, that's what I got, thank you. And with this you can do whatever you want. You can do any of the features we have here, apply template, concept, whatever you want to do, postpone it, dismiss it, or do a subset review, whatever you want to do in a subset. Or even delete the contents if that's what you wanted. Again, a plethora of use cases that we're not going to cover in detail. But at this point of the course, you can already tell yourself what will be useful. We have seen already the subset review and how we can start by learn in this menu, or in the toolbar, or in process browser, learning, and the first option. There are 3 ways to get there, or review all. The difference is if it's outstanding or not. Then, what's going to happen if I click Add to Outstanding? It's asking me every which element, range 1 to 100. Then, a lot of newbies, including me at the beginning, I think this is meant for the contents, right? Now if I have 1,154 elements, and it's 5, you will be getting the first, the 5th, the 10th, and so on. So it's just getting 1 of every 5 as a subset. No, it's not doing this. What it does is, hey, let me cancel. Open the outstanding. That's the entire outstanding queue. Then the first one will be here. The second will be on the 5th. The third will be on the 10th, and so on. So instead of adding themselves cramped, like, I don't know, like this, all together, and then whatever I had in the queue, is no. Just put every 5, so it is like sparsed, diluted, the content. What's going to happen? That then, if I don't have enough outstanding elements, it's not my case, but let's pretend that I only have a few hundred, it will be at the bottom. So I do 5, 10, 15, 20, and I reach the bottom, then the rest will be at the bottom. This is actually what it's doing, this setting. Then, if you do every one, it's 50-50. A genuine element in the outstanding queue, one that I add. One genuine, one that I added. One genuine, one that I added. And the minimum, it's 100, but it's very diluted. If I add this to the outstanding, first, this is only for today. It's temporary. The next day cutoff, SuperMemo will calculate what is outstanding. So what was artificially added will be gone. So if I put 100, I have to do 100 repetitions per one element here. So if I have here already 40, I will need more than 4,000 repetitions. So 100 is already quite massive. I suggest every 5, depends in your collection. Let's say that you have language learning, that is the outlier case, that you have a lot of content. You can do every 10, let's say. So you have this subset, language, 9 times, this subset, 9 from language, this subset, and so on. But if you do incremental learning, 5, which is the default, is already quite good. So let's proceed with this. Okay. It did 595 conversions. But something you might have realized already is that some priorities have changed. Hey, that's not what I wanted, right? Then, if I go now to the outstanding queue, well, we're not going to. There's no need to. Just look, I'm in a subset, 1 second. Do you see now the outstanding? In the status bar, or in the element, the statistics window, it says number, plus number, parentheses. That is because I added elements in the outstanding. When you do this artificially, it adds the third count in parentheses. 28,533. That's how you know you have artificially added elements in the outstanding queue. And by the way, those elements are not outstanding, if this makes sense. Meaning, they are now present in the outstanding queue, but they are not outstanding. We can know that. View outstanding queue. Okay. Do you see that the number is the same? 28,533 is the one in parentheses. Awesome. Now, I filter outstanding. And do you see? There are a few that are gone, are the non-outstanding. Meaning, I can have non-outstanding elements in the outstanding queue. Why you want to do that? There are some use cases. We will see this later. But basically it's, hey, let me add this today in the outstanding queue because I want to mix it, I want to interleave it, but if I don't finish them, whatever it's the rest, the thousands that I added, they will be back. Nothing happened the next day. This is not rescheduling, as we have seen in this is not rescheduling. Rescheduling will be modifying the next repetition. We are not. But we are affecting this because since it's artificially in the outstanding queue, I will do the what? The midterm repetition. And this will change the outstanding queue, the next outstanding queue. But if I don't do the repetition, no change is made. We're going to see some use cases, archetypal use cases, because there are a lot more, about add to outstanding without the all option. Nice. First, you can think that as your daily task list, like the to-do. So add to outstanding is like pulling a file from your file cabinet and putting it to today's list. It will be semantically the equivalent. So you're not changing the file's permanent location. It's a scheduled date. You're just saying, I need to look at this right now, more or less. So what will be the use cases? Process new imports immediately. I imported 10 or whatever new articles, especially if it's from the same topic that I need urgently. I can add them to the outstanding. Why? Because I don't want to wait for tomorrow or whatever. Even if it's the highest priority, it's 0, it will be for tomorrow. What I can do, let me do it right away, and whatever is outstanding, I will be interleaving with the new imports. Something you can do. So more or less, you will avoid the drip feed of several days, bypass that, so you have these a lot sooner. You'll do it today, basically. Next is creating a focused study session. Not because it's urgently, but could be, I had this in my collection already for a lot, let's say, but soon I have an exam. So now, it's not that it's new in my collection, perhaps it has been half a year already, but I want to see it soon, recently, because I have an exam, and I want to review everything, right? Therefore, I don't want to wait for the next repetition, because perhaps it's too late, and I'm going to cram everything. Therefore, I create a custom study session, more or less will be in Anki, but it's not all I do. I add it to the outstanding, so I can still do my outstanding repetitions, but with this intermingled. So it's not that taxing. Can be an example of European history, so I spread this across a few hundreds, one every 3, let's say, and most of them are not even scheduled for today. Not a big deal. I just add them to outstanding. So I will review them regardless if they were outstanding or not. And the ones that I miss, they will be lapsed. And the ones that are easy, they will have a new interval anyways. Nice. So the result will be a comprehensive review session for today, regardless when it's outstanding and when I did that, but it's different from the first because it's new from now. And this is already processed, has been created into a flashcard, and perhaps you did one or a few repetitions in some of the flashcards already. And then, since the command doesn't change the underlying schedule, the items will still know when we'll return to the long-term intervals. So once you have graduated or passed the exam, you can just continue the long-term process. You'll have done a midterm repetition, perhaps, but later on you will follow the special repetition altogether. And the third is interspersing reading and reviews. You're in the middle of your daily repetitions, but you feel your brain is getting tired, low energy. So what you do, or the queue is only showing you high intensity questions because you lead quite a lot recently, or you come from a break and you got a lot of questions. Not that they're harder, are just the volume, it's higher, just this. It's too much, right? It's too intensive. Then what you can do is you can intersperse some low priority topics that you want to read, and they are especially easy, cognitively cheap. So therefore you want to intersperse this in your outstanding queue. So you get, hard item, something easy. Hard item, something easy. So you can keep focused for a while. You don't care about the date. You don't have any deadline. You don't have an exam. You do it because of the mood, fatigue, whatever. So the result is that you can intersperse the difficult items with easy reading. Easy. So we have seen 3 archetypes. There are still many. In the Fluency, we're going to see those. Interspersing for convenience, poorly, because you have a deadline and you want to review something now, but you have done it incrementally, or you want to bypass the incrementalism on the start. On import, at the end, you already have the flashcards, or most of the flashcards, or convenience. Could be flashcards, without flashcards, whatever. It's just about difficulty. It's too taxing. So one of those cases you will add to the outstanding. Remember that this has criteria that you haven't done the repetition today. So if you really cram, perhaps this will be done, but if you continue the same day, you will use the next one. Add all to outstanding if you want to see the same elements once again. Let's continue with add elements to outstanding. Basically, we haven't told all of the truth. So we have seen that elements to go to the outstanding queue, they cannot be outstanding, right? Because they are already there. So basically, we're putting non-outstanding elements to the outstanding queue without making them outstanding. They are just there in the queue, making friends. Okay. Turns out there are different requisites to be added, and those requisites will make the difference between what? Between add to outstanding and add all to outstanding. One will have requisites, the other doesn't. Let's see that. The element must be memorized. This is a prerequisite, because if it is missed, cannot be seen. It will be ignored anyways. The same if it's pending, because a pending element would be on the pending queue. Therefore, to be on the outstanding queue has to be before on the priority queue. Non-outstanding, it won't be there in the outstanding queue, but it will be on the priority queue when it's not outstanding. Nice. Another one is that the element cannot have been reviewed earlier on the same day. That's something we haven't seen. That means if now I do a few repetitions in the subset, and then I want to filter and add to outstanding, they won't work. Why? Because I have seen them today already. And this will violate one of the rules, principles in SuperMemo, that the minimum interval is a day. You won't see the same specialty item twice in the same day. Which we can do with the other all to outstanding, by the way. And third, the new position in the outstanding queue must be less than the old position. What means by that? If that's my outstanding queue, okay. If for whatever reason this is already outstanding, which is the case, and I do add to outstanding, it will work only in the condition that the new position in the outstanding queue will be higher. Well, lower in number, higher in rank. Like priorities, then the higher the number, the lower the priority it is. So in this case, it's the 7,877, meaning that if the new position is the same or lower, it won't be added in the outstanding queue. How this is going to depend? Easy. When you add to the outstanding queue, when you add to the outstanding queue, it starts from the beginning and then multiply for this, meaning in this case it will start by the first element in the list, it will become the first one on the outstanding. The second on the element window will become the fifth on the outstanding. Pam 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 pam. That means that this one, 7,877 plus 5 times, it will be too many. So the outstanding queue is not big enough, meaning it will be at the bottom. In this case, it's not going to work. Why? Because the new position, it will be lower than before. If I do every single one, it won't work either, because that means it will be dead the same. The contents I see on the browser will be dead on the same on the outstanding queue. I'm putting everything at the top of what already exists in the outstanding queue. So this will only work if I do a subset that, hey, let me filter by anything, interval or whatever, that some will be taken out, and therefore the next index in the queue will be a lower number, therefore appear sooner. And if any, is because if it was not understanding, it will be new. So it's already satisfied because it was not there. So it's satisfied. So when you have those three criteria met, the element will be added to outstanding queue. That implies that you can only do it once. If you do it, you do the subset once again, or you do all of the outstanding for a while, and you want to re-add the same element to the outstanding queue, it will be bypassed. It will be skipped. Let's do one experiment. Incremental reading. Now let's do a subset. I'm not going to pay attention here. Phonetic transcriptions, proper narrow phonetic, Americans typically flap, 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 more Americans flap, except of a word, immigrants of America, myth, 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 myth. Okay, more or less like this, the first 10 or so. Now what happens? If we open this on the browser to see the contents, the first 10-ish that were memorized, by the way, because I have folders, phonetic transcriptions, Americans typically use the flap, all of this. Now the next repetition is in the 2028, meaning it's not outstanding now. So I can actually add to the outstanding if I want to, right? They are not outstanding. Let's see. How many conversions do I have? Well, it would have been nice to do a subset of these because there are too many. Then let's see. Child, outstanding. 42, just one. That was the last one that had appeared in my element window, but I didn't execute the repetition. That's why it's still outstanding. See, the others are not outstanding. Nice. Now it's a good approach, because now I don't want the last browser, it's only one element, I want the other one with 12. So I go to the previous. 42. Nice. Precisely what I wanted. Do you see here the myth? Awesome. Then, this is not outstanding, but why is not being added now? I want this to be on the outstanding. And 3 conversions because there will be the last 3. But those are not. Why those are not? All of them memorized are not outstanding. Because I have done the repetition today. There were 3 criteria. Are memorized? Yes. I filter. Are memorized. Then, I have done the repetition today? Yes. Look at the repetition. Last rep says November 22nd is the time of the recording. Meaning, the first 3 now are the ones that were added to outstanding. That's why I only got 3. Because the other ones have been reviewed today, and I know that because of the last repetition date. So only those 3 have been added. Hey, I don't want that. I want to do a next wave of repetitions. Then what you will do instead is review all. Or, if you want to mix it with something else, not just this, which will become endogamic, but with your rest of the outstanding queue, because you want to still interleave, then you will add this to outstanding, add all to outstanding, every 5, let's say. Do you see now 20 conversions? Nice. And now I can repeat this over and over again. I can do a subset if I only wanted this, or I can go and continue the learn of my outstanding if I wanted to intermix, because it's 1 every 5. That's what I wanted. So now we have understood the precise difference of many things. Add to outstanding, add all to outstanding, or that I do the subset, or I want to mix it with something else. Therefore, I will do the subset review or I will add to outstanding and then create another subset review if it's bigger, or just go to the outstanding if it's enough. I don't want a bigger subset, I just want the entire collection and that's it. Here there's, again, many different details, and you can interject filtering by priorities, sorting, so you can bypass a sort every one of 5 elements that you add to the outstanding in a precise order, the other or not. You can do any combination. Finally, we will formally introduce the subset review. What is a subset review? Is an option, a function, that allows you to run a review session on only a specific part of your collection, a subset or a branch. If I click here, process branch, and learn, or directly learn, with right click, I will go and execute a subset review through a branch, because it's processing a branch. If I have this on any selection on the browser, I click learn, or I process a browser, and I go here and learn. So it could be any random choice, any selection of all of your elements, including all of your elements, if that is the case. But basically it's a specific section. Then normally SuperMemo mixes all of the subsets together in one large queue, the outstanding queue. But it's no, for whatever reason, I only want SuperMemo course, boom. No, I want more specifically, only the elements about the space repetition, right? Or no, I want the elements of the SuperMemo course, by the way it's being spelled. I want more specifically the elements inside the SuperMemo course that are topics that are memorized, which interval is longer than a day, and I haven't seen in the last month. Any combination you want to. So basically I'm adding filters, and I can filter as much as I want to. Eventually it could be the case that I have 0 elements. Then it will only show you the outstanding items. We will see this that we can do some kind of a subset that is called review all that will bypass this. Important, it doesn't change the learning schedule. It will do if you execute the repetition. But if you just do the subset, start the subset review, but you only do the first one, all of the other elements are not affected. How you know you are in a subset review? Easy. Let me do the entire course. Not the course, because everything is kind of dismissed. Sorry about that. But I will do incremental reading. Okay. And I do learn. Now it's preparing the repetitions. It's filtering what is outstanding. Okay. Now, do you see in the statistics window? Let me close this down. In the statistics window, we have the outstanding. Okay. But now I have review. This is how I know I am in a subset. It doesn't tell you subset explicitly, but you have a different count, and in parentheses, whatever you had on the browser. In this case, it's IR, because it's the name of the node I used, because it's a branch. And then I have its own count. How many items? 6,000 something. How many topics? 18,000 plus 0, so I don't have anything in the else. In the subset, meaning that if I do one here, now I'm executing the repetition, you see, this goes to 2040, and now I have one less. I also have one outstanding less because this was outstanding. And I can go and, I'm fed up, so I will press escape. And once you click on learn, then SuperMemo asks you, hey, do you want to resume the subset learning? Which was this, IR? No. And now you see review has disappeared. Then, it's quite odd that the only place that tells you which queue you're using could be subset, but could be neural or final reel or whatever, It's in the statistics window. Why in the statistics? Doesn't make sense. It should be on the element window or in the status bar. Why on earth in the statistics? It's the only place that this is shown. That's why at the beginning of the course we said that to keep this. Even if you don't want the statistics, just for the review field. First, and second, there's no button or obvious feature to quit whatever you do. So you can only do escape, and then when you want to continue, you say no. So it's not that intuitive. So you follow the common sense. You're going to be lost. So now that you know through this course, no big deal. Once you know, it's okay. Oh, you see, what's happening? I don't understand. You can take a peek here, or space. I escape, and then, oh gotcha, it was in a subset without realizing. Because what you could do is go neural, start a subset, do a final drill without quitting the other ones. So once then you quit the final drill, you go back to the neural queue without realizing. And it's wow. I'm just telling you this. I'm not going to mention it because this is the what? It's a Fluency track. Just don't do this. Don't nest this unless you're a master, because it's not intuitive and you need to know where to look for in order to deduce, because it won't still be shown to your face. You have to deduce what's happening. And remember, you don't have to finish all of the subset review. You can quit it anytime. Now we're going to cover in a slight detail, but makes like a butterfly effect if you're not aware of what you're doing. And it's the subset review of filtered, threshold versus sorted. What we mean by that? I can open the branch as always. I open the branch, and I may change the order. Let's say the sorting is interval to be consistent. And I start the subset, right? Click on Learn, Ctrl+L. Boom. So what we got is this, about 200 items and about 600 topics. Okay. This is whatever is outstanding. The difference is that I stop whenever I want to, because I'm not going to finish all of this. I don't have enough time to do 800 reviews, right? So we'll click next repetition, and I will be getting lower and shorter intervals each time. Elements that have shorter intervals each time. Awesome. Then if what I do is, no. Let me filter, even if I sort, first let me filter, and I will filter so at least there is a year. Okay, now it's filtered, and now I can sort if I want to. If I sort, I will have the same result. I will start the subset, but what happens? Oopsie doopsie. There were 220 candidates, but there are only 20 outstanding. What's the difference? Is that in one, I just sort and I do as I go, and I cancel whenever I want. The other is I set a limit, a threshold, and then I go. Therefore, I can reassure that no, whatever was not a year is not touched. If I did the other way around, and I sort by interval, then click on Learn, here already I bypassed a lot, only the outstanding ones. Okay. View last browser. Okay. Now we filter outstanding. Okay. Then to make it shorter, so it fits in my screen, I will use it like this. That means, hey, I'm doing repetitions. Pum, 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 pum. Eventually, I will reach this one. Hey, this is shorter than a year already. So I'm not going to see that. So that's the difference. If I put the threshold of the criteria I'm using, in this case interval, and then I start, it will be different in practice that I just don't put any threshold, I just sort. by interval, the same in this case. And I just go pam pam pam. That I don't have much time or I'm bored. I stop here. That I had a topic, another topic. I just want to move on. In this case, qualitatively, both times I have left preemptively too soon. I didn't finish all of the reps. I would have had the same thing. For SuperMemo, you have done the same thing. You didn't modify the standing or did anything in the other remaining elements. So if we are very, very, very strict, the only thing that actually is different, which actually there is, will be the views. When you go to the last browser or previous, because what you had on the contents you had on the element browser will be the entire branch or the filtered one. But that is, I mean, it's a minor detail. You're not going to decide one of those just because of this. Just to let you know that specifically there are some differences but can be neglected. So now you know whatever you want to do. If you really want, no, I want a threshold, feel free. Or just by sorting by the criteria you want, and that's about it. Because you won't finish anyways. So, in the practical sense, there's no difference. Let's see now some of the use cases of subset review. So, when is useful to start a subset review? First, mood-based or focused learning. You're in the zone for a specific subject, could be Spanish or, I don't know, something that makes you keeps interacting with physics, history, and so on, which is the sorting criteria. But you know what? Now I'm to Spanish. I don't know why I want now Spanish or whatever. Could be now I discover something very interesting of AI, and I want to take that. Then I do a subset just for this. But it will be just today. It's not that from now on I will do only Spanish, every morning or whatever. No, it's now. It's no, I only want to see that. You will binge watch a Netflix show, but the equivalent. You will binge watch, review that thing. Let's say Spanish. So you maintain the single mental context, only the Spanish items. Can feel more efficient because you keep the context. It's actually a double-edged sword, by the way. Second use case is managing a huge review backlog. So let's say you have 1,000. For me, that's nothing. I have more than 20,000. But you know what? I want to decrease this depth. So what you do is you can do, let me do the English vocabulary via subset, via branch, because they are quick to do. I only need 4 or 5 seconds. Pum, 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 pum. So I can, I don't know, from the 1,000, I can do 400 in one day. So I do the subset just to quickly reduce the backlog of the easy stuff. One example. Then, subset for the exams. This goes in consonance as add all to outstanding. Basically, it's the same case. Just that you need to do both. Says, I need to review the chapter 5 because I have this in the test tomorrow. Boom. You do a subset and you see everything on that. I'm going to expand because I expanded already in the add to outstanding. Fourth, context-specific review. Sometimes it's, I'm reading something and, oh shit, I realized now that I have a hole in my understanding. So I do just a 5-minute subset to identify that, precisely that's the hole. Or that I look, it's, oh shit, in 5 minutes I need to go outside. I need to work, go to grocery shopping, whatever. So then what I do is something that is kind of specific, like before, at the beginning, that was Spanish, but it's because I want to make it quick. Like for me, it will be English items. Is, I will do this in my branch of the glossary, because I will know that every single flashcard is a definition. I need to recall the name. Since I have only 5 minutes, I can do it quickly. Or, when I have another example, is when it's late, but I want to still use SuperMemo, but I'm already fatigued and so on, I will do low friction or low difficulty material. So instead of incremental reading about intelligence, mathematics, and so on, yeah, let me do more like what I do for language, or more like video games, whatever that is, before I do organic chemistry and so on. This could also be, again, both at the same time. So it's easy and quick, or it's just easy, or it's just quick. Because then, if I do something here, oh shit, this in physics appears, pam pam pam, and then I only spend one repetition. I only spend the 5 minutes left, right? So yeah, I want a quick flow. There's a use case for do a subset. And tackling the problem topics. So you have a subject, this appears in the main queue, and the flow makes you want to stop. So intentionally you postpone those items during the main review, or you set a specific high energy time, could be the morning, or on Saturday, that I don't have any pressure, I can start what I do with an alarm clock, I know I won't get any emails or calls, I can do my own. Then I do the subset, because it's timely. So I take it off from the outstanding queue, because I want to do it precisely on Saturdays when I'm alone and I can chill. One use case. And this can be even the hardest material. So you spend, I want problem solving about something about law or whatever that is. It's something valid. The only limitation is that you will need to postpone it first, so it doesn't appear on your outstanding, or when it appears on your outstanding, one by one, you just postpone them. Then I will do it later. And then you do the subset. Why? Because when you do the subset, you don't care if it's outstanding or not, basically. Those are 5 of the use cases. There are more. But more or less will be sub-categories of the ones we have seen. So far, it's mood-based or focus-based by difficulty, like in this case is the backlog, could be difficulty because you are tired or you have an artificial need. That I have an exam, so I only want stuff that will be covered in the exam. I don't have much time, right? That's it. You do a subset of your collection. And again, to wrap up this video, depends how you use SuperMemo. Could be the case that they have a standalone collection for biology, so I don't need a subset review because the entire collection is what it is for the exam. So there's no subset. But if I keep this as a branch in my main collection, then I will do a subset. This is rule of thumb. Then, it's best to have multiple collections or one collection and do subset, There are many pros and cons. The list is large. It's not easy to say in one sentence. But this won't be covered in the Fluency track. In the Fluency, we have seen already that we will only use one collection. So if you want to go to the rabbit hole, wait for the mastery track. Now finally we will tackle the review, subset review, and what is the difference. So let me go to the last browser, not that we know what is this. If you click the L, which is something you will be prone to do for convenience, that's not the usual. That's not the default subset review. How do you know that? Look at the key binding. Ctrl+Shift+L. A subset review is here. Learn. Ctrl+L. So what you have, this L that is redundant here in the main menu, it's review all. What's the difference? Learn is the same behavior as clicking the learn button, but on the scope of the subset. So instead of getting the entire outstanding queue, it will be feeding from the subset queue. Same feature, just from a different queue. Easy to understand. The review all what does is I don't care if they are outstanding or not. I'm going to use all of the contents. Well, strictly speaking, it will be the subset queue, which equals to the browser contents. So if I do this, how many elements do I have? 44. Okay, let me go again. View last browser. There were 45. It says 44 because one is already preloaded in the element window, so this already counts. So the remaining are 44. So some detail. Then, if what I do, let me check if something is not outstanding, by the way. Oh my God, only one is not outstanding. So at least we'll see the difference by one. If now what I do is learn, do you see? It's 43, not 44. Why? Because there is one non-outstanding. Sorry, exactly, this one, it will be for me next week. It's non-outstanding. And just to finalize this, make the point. Let's see the hint. Review all is execute mid-interval repetitions on all elements. That is confusing. Not necessarily, because if it's outstanding, executes the repetition as usual. If it's over outstanding, it has been outstanding for a while, it will execute the repetition as usual with the delay bonus, because you're super late. And if it's not outstanding, it will still execute the repetition, but the mid-interval repetition. Why? Because it will show up. In learn, it's not that the repetition is not logged, it's not executed. It's that the element is not even seen, it's not in the list, therefore it's not going to appear. Because here says, repeat and review outstanding elements. How the hint is defined is not comprehensive enough, because you may think, oh, I will be getting the same. One, it's locked for non-outstanding. One, it is locked. Like the final drill, that is never locked. The repetitions are never locked. Oh, that's a difference. No. Ones will be absolutely ignored. So even if they are in the contents of the browser, they are not getting on the queue. So even though both create what's called, if you remember, the subset queue, the subset queue is different because learn will have only outstanding elements of the contents, and review all will have all the memorized. So you are not going to see that is missed. Remember this. But if it's not outstanding, you will still see it. And there's still a third option, by the way, with no key binding. Just for convenience, review topics. But it's the same if you click here and filter topics, it's the same result. So it's just some redundancy. I guess that this was an option many years ago and was left. Just to let you know that you can just ignore it. There's no key binding even for that. Now it's the queue that, hey, what happens if I use one of those options? Then the behavior of this learn or review all will be changing. We have seen the use cases of adding to outstanding. Now let's see the use cases of adding all to the outstanding. Emphasis in the all. Then, use case, a focused cram session. Why? You want to bypass the minimum interval of 1 day or seeing the same elements more than once, like in Anki. How you bypass this? Add all to outstanding. You have a final exam about biology, whatever, you have about 200, and the ones that you keep failing, for whatever reason, you want to keep appearing. So you will use add all to outstanding. And let's say that you will go by waves. You run once, from the 200, I failed 50. Then the 50 will be again outstanding, and I do a fail 20. I do another wave, another iteration, cram, until I get them all. Something you can do if you use SuperMemo for cramming. Nice. Second is bulk processing no imports. And you may think, hey, what is the difference? We have added to the outstanding, right? This makes the difference that perhaps you have seen it today. If you import it today, this counts as a repetition. So actually, the one in the outstanding, this is useful if has 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, Why? You'll see it anyways because you will do it the next day. Hey, that was imported yesterday, but this is still not outstanding because the interval was 3 days. Then, if the interval is 1 day, it won't appear because importing it means you have created the element, and the creation of the element counts as a repetition. That will make the difference. Then you use all to outstanding. Or, again, you do several waves. You have done this already, and you want a new cycle. Then, could be the case that you did add to outstanding, but now you need add all to outstanding. And the third is the knowledge spring cleaning. Let's say that you have an old branch of JavaScript or something, especially in STEM, or especially in coding, that is more time-bound, that after 5 years could be the case that is obsolete, and you want to clean. Hey, I only want to keep elements that are items that are relevant today. That means that even if I remember them or not, I don't want to keep them, right? I want to delete them. So I want to force them in outstanding so I see them today, not in 10 years, in 2048, like some elements I had during the videos. And I will see it. I put them on the branch and alt outstanding, and then I will see them intermixed, and I will decide, hey, I will delete this, I will update it in case it's required, or no, this is evergreen, I will keep it. So I will just keep pressing enter, or dismiss it if I want to keep it for queries, for search queries, or whatever. And if I don't want that, I will just straight delete it. It's another use case. You use add all to outstanding for cleaning purposes, not for actually cramming. But this is an outlier case because depends on the nature of the knowledge. So if you're not into coding or something that is seasonal, very hardly you will do that. So those, again, are some of the use cases most common for adding all to outstanding. And remember, there is a lot of ways to achieve more or less the same. So you could have the same flow, the same use case, doing subsets and something else instead of adding all to outstanding. Because we could do, just to make the point, is I have subset A, subset B, and I just do join them without using the entire outstanding queue. I will achieve the same result, but more granular. 1 every 5 will be this, but instead of 4 from the outstanding queue will be from another subset, not entire collection. So remember, you can do a lot of things that are at the end of the day very similar, but the point is to know exactly what you're doing. Hope you achieve that. So now we're going to see one detail about add all to the outstanding date. We're going to see a detail about add all to the outstanding. That's why, for instance, I can keep re-adding them. If I do nothing, I can just re-add all of them in the outstanding queue. Every single one. Boom. Because there's no criteria. So everything will become outstanding. Even if all of them were outstanding again, they become outstanding again. And since what I modified, instead of 1 every 5, every 1, therefore all will have a newer, lower sequence, lower index to satisfy the last criterion. Just to prove my point. And then if I start the learning, what I will execute, do you see? This is from the past, it's 2022. It says no more elements to review subset. Huh! I had 17 elements. What's happening? I'm not understanding this, right? View, last browser. Now what happened? I got an since I have executed now the repetition, I had a new outstanding date. Even if some were not outstanding, and some they were, even 3 years ago, now what happens is that everything has changed, because if we're outstanding, I did executed the repetition as usual. If it was not outstanding, I did the midterm repetition. But even if there's some handicap, it will be the feature. So everything I have here now, nothing is outstanding. But I can repeat the same procedure. Add all to outstanding. Only 8. What happened? I did 1 every 5 this time. I am modified. That means that 11, they had a lower orthoseme index, so they didn't make it. Just to prove my point. So then I can have the flow to go back to the learning. I'm not going to the subset. It will be pointless to the subset. Here I did for the video for purposes of the didactic purposes, but I will be doing my outstanding queue instead. But it will make the video too long. If you only want this, you will just do review all instead. No need to add them to the outstanding, because review all overrules outstanding status. So why adding them if you don't need? Why adding the elements of outstanding if you don't need to? You will need to if you mix it with outstanding queue, because you want to intermix, because you want both. You want to interleave those. I hope it's more clear now. That's all for now. See you incrementally.